Hey everyone, welcome to episode 5. The Eagles are 1-0. The Jets season is over, and the Giants are the worst team in NFL history. On today's episode, we will break down all 3 games and preview their week 2 matchups. And are we going to have all 3 baseball teams in the postseason? The Mets are red hot and making their push. We will discuss this and the return of the weekly segment, Let's Mock New York Fans on Twitter. All that and more right after our jingle.
Sports and culture all in one. Catch the fire, feel the fun. Andrew, Sistad, Brad unite. Philly and Y in the spotlight.
Welcome back. The Jets on Monday Night Football got blown out by the San Francisco 49ers. For those of you that are new to the pod and or don't know me, you may think that I was being serious when I said the Jets season is over. That was sarcastic. That's me mocking knee-jerk reaction sports fans that can't take a loss. It's one game. I'm very happy. I saw Rodgers look good. I saw a lot of things that encouraged me. That being said, it was a terrible game. It was very frustrating to watch. There was so much hype, so much excitement going into the game. It was a big emotional letdown. The offense looked out of sync. The defense looked really, really bad, and my critiques will stop there, though. What do you guys think watching that game?
Well, I'm curious right off the bat, Andrew, to get a sense of, are you more concerned about the defense looking bad at points or more concerned about the offense stalling at different points throughout the game?
I'm not concerned about either. To answer that question. So first off, the reason I'm not concerned is I look at this as one game. Week 1, very fluky. Teams don't play their starters in the preseason. You have guys missing tackles. I think that was a big part of it. So defensively, I think that, overall, I don't think what happened on Monday night against the Niners is indicative of what the season will look like. So I think that's first and foremost. In terms of what I was most disappointed in for the game, not looking at it as like big picture whole season, the defense was more disappointing because the offense was barely on the field because the defense just couldn't stop the run. And the Niners O-line dominated. The defensive line, I wouldn't say dominated, but they outplayed the Jets O-line. And the Niners just really just looked like the more in sync, the more experienced, and the more in control team. And that makes sense considering they have a core roster that's been really successful. It's made the Super Bowl, has made bunch of Super Bowl and deep playoff runs. They were my Super Bowl pick this year, so that's not really surprising. The offense, I think Rodgers looked pretty good considering it's his first game in a long time. I think Brees didn't look great. The offensive line looked okay. Garrett Wilson looked okay, but I don't think the offense overall was a huge problem. They just weren't on the field.
The Niners are still really good. That stood out to me right off the bat. I was impressed. I mean, when you and I talked last week on the pod here about San Francisco, you were high on them this year, again, even after the Super Bowl loss. And I wasn't too sure. I was more so with the thinking that this team could have a slow start to the season, at least in San Francisco. But they came out in mid-season form, I would say. Again, to your point, the team, a veteran crew that's been around for a while now. They've won a lot of games. Have done just about anything except win the whole thing. Purdy looked great. They were able to do what they do usually without the number one guy in fantasy.
Can I pause there? This is something. I got to take out my phone for a second for this. So I'm watching this game, right? And I get a text. And this is, it's an atypical text for most people, but this text is from Brad Sistad. And you know what he says? He's watching this game and he says, I don't know how you could be watching this game and think that Christian McCaffrey is actually good.
That's right.
Yeah, he's mid.
Oh,
you
sorry,
know?
sorry.
He's
I
just
can't
mid.
believe people still think McCaffrey is good. That was the text, and my response to him: "You're ridiculous." I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know
so
how much into
that's
that we want to. Yeah,
obviously said a little tongue in cheek.
no, it's not. You don't
We've
think
had this thing going on for
you
the
don't think
past few
McCaffrey's
years
good?
where, yeah, to take a step back to answer your question about how I felt about the game, I felt like the 49ers looked like the 49ers, and the Jets looked like a new team who hasn't played a lot together. And the biggest thing, if I'm a Jets fan, the biggest thing that I would want to see was Aaron Rodgers, obviously. And to me, he looked like Aaron Rodgers. So from that standpoint, with a little bit more chemistry, kind of like what we talked about the Eagles a week or two ago, they're getting used to each other. They're getting used to a new system, so they're going to have to learn to play together. Offensive line cohesion didn't really look super great to me, but anyone has a tough time with 49ers because they dominate the trenches. And yeah, the joke is that you can stick any running back there and they're going to do really well. And I've kind of been on that island for a while. Obviously, McCaffrey's really good, but the point still stands is that go back 4 or 5 years and anybody who has run behind that offensive line looks just like that.
No,
So
that's true.
you
That's
throw
true.
in, and this was like the ultimate litmus test. I mean, this guy is an undrafted player, a 2-year player who's played like 3 games in his entire career, and he looks great. So I wasn't surprised really at all. I mean, I would have liked to see the Jets put up a little bit more of a fight, but yeah, I mean, to me, San Fran looked like San Fran, and the Jets looked like they're still learning each other's offense.
I agree with that. I do agree with that sentiment. Yeah, I think the good thing is that's a tough game to start the season, especially when you have Rodgers back playing for the first time. That's a tough situation to start the season in San Francisco. They have a little bit of a soft schedule coming up to get into their week 2 matchup. They do have Tennessee in Tennessee, so it's a road game, 2 road games to start. But
I
the
should
Titans,
go, honestly, in the backyard.
you should go.
I got to look it up. What time are they playing?
1:00. Well, 1:00 Eastern time. So
yeah, 12. Yeah, I'll look into it.
Yeah, we already lost you because of the Wi-Fi in Nashville. Let's hope that you can take advantage of the Nashville Titans home game.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, they may need me to show up to fill seats in that stadium after their performance in Chicago on Sunday, but that's another
That was a
story.
crazy comeback. So yeah, I think that should be a soft landing spot for the Jets, though. If they,
yeah, it should.
Regarding your question about me being concerned, if they lose in Tennessee, I will be concerned. Then I will be concerned.
Then the season will be over.
Yeah, then the season will be over.
Yeah.
I just think that everything that you said, Sistad, was on point. They looked like a team that needs time to gel, that haven't had that experience playing together, and they went up against a team on the road that has had a lot of experience playing together. And the Niners are the betting favorite to make the Super Bowl and come out of the NFC. So they're pretty good.
Yeah, really tough spot. I think again, Rodgers physically looked totally fine. Maybe wasn't taking off or running as much as he might have in years past, but I thought he looked fine in the pocket. I thought his arm had every bit of zip and velo on it that it's ever had. I thought that one back shoulder throw to Garrett Wilson was
beautiful. Yes.
And then that touchdown throw to who was it? Was it Lazard? I mean, that was
Lazard,
that was a fucking dot. That was a Green Bay Packer 2018 Aaron Rodgers MVP level throw. And I think I would be pretty optimistic if I was a Jets fan. If I was a Jets fan and you asked me how I felt on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say 6.
You love that 6-7 spot, right? Right around there. That's the Sistad sweet spot.
So, all right. So to wrap up on the Jets, we're not going to overreact. I mean, you guys are probably seeing this more than I am. I haven't seen anything at all. How's the national media, Twitter, all the social media, all that? How's their reaction been?
I think it's pretty similar to how we're feeling. I don't think anyone really expected the Jets to go in there and win that game. Again, I think maybe people were hoping it was a little bit closer. But yeah, it doesn't really seem super surprising. People definitely love piling on Aaron Rodgers because they hate him.
They hate him.
They hate him.
Yeah.
So they're taking a little bit of a victory lap today. Yeah, I think it's all pretty status quo. Again, I don't think anyone really expected anything too different.
Yep. All right. So the season is not over for the Jets. Moving on now to the Eagles, who played a game on Friday in Brazil. Sistad, you got a nice win, 1-0. Before we get into the game, I tried texting you during the game, like early on. They had a couple turnovers. I tried to get to see how you were feeling. No response. Take us through what your emotions were, what your thoughts were early on in this game when the Eagles were turning the ball over and looking really, really bad.
Yeah, so early on in the game, I'm having PTSD of Super Bowl 57. The field conditions were insanely slippery, and I thought the NFL should, frankly, be pretty embarrassed that you had all off season to put this together, and that was the field that was played on. That was a bit of a disappointment. It's a soccer field, and it was super slippery, and it's like
football. Yeah,
one thing I think is weird is like you saw a lot of players change their cleats like during the game. Like they had like Ryobi drills and they're changing drill bits. They're trying to change the spikes out. It's like, didn't you guys warm up on this field? Like, didn't you know that it was going to be really slippery? Like, why would you? I don't know. I thought that was strange, but yeah. So emotions, just kind of weird watching a game on a Friday night. I had a watch party here. I had a lot of my friends and family over. So it was cool. It was cool to have a game on Friday night and like not have to worry about getting up and going to work the next day. That was fun. Game itself. So Eagles Packers get the ball first. Eagles stop them. And then obviously the first two possessions for the Eagles result in turnovers. The very first play of the Eagles season is Saquon Barkley slipping and falling on his face for like a 5-yard loss. So not feeling great about that. Not feeling great about the Hurts turnover. But I will say I've actually got a lot of notes on this game. I can talk about this stuff for a while, but I think you'd be proud of me, Andrew, because when the Eagles held the Packers to 6 points off
those
of
two field goals,
red zone turnovers, I was actually like trying to cheer up my friends and family. I think they were more down than I was, which is very much a reversal of roles. But
that's funny. Yeah, I
was just thinking like, let's go down and score. Like, let's take the lead. Let's go get 7-6. And that's exactly what they did. So, and then after that, just very, very obviously super back and forth, very sloppy, a million flags. But I think overall for the Eagles, I am really encouraged. I feel really good about the win. The sentiment around Philadelphia is more so kind of 50-50. Like, I think they're kind of a little scarred from last year, like when they were eking out all these close wins, and then it turned out that, they fell apart in the end. But, man, a lot of really good stuff, a lot of positives that we could talk about. Definitely some concerns, but I think a lot of the concerns are stuff that we were just similarly saying about the Jets. So again, new offensive coordinator, a couple new pieces, new offensive line, no preseason. Like you could tell that these guys hadn't played in a while, and they came out of the gate really sloppy. But I can kind of let you know the positives and negatives that I thought from the game.
Sure.
Yeah, I'll start with the positives because I'm just, the most positive guy that we all know when it comes to my teams. But
yes,
first thing, obviously, the biggest piece of the game for the offense was the skill position guys. AJ Brown, just an absolute monster. The guy he's so elite at everything. It's really a joy to watch him play. He's just game breaking. He's so fast. He's so big. He's so strong. He's got really good hands. Like he can go down and there's a couple balls that he really saved Jalen on, like not super catchable balls, but he went down and got them. He had a couple of really nice, just, he would catch the ball, cut, and like make a guy miss on a big third down. And then obviously that touchdown was huge. Yep. I mean, he's bigger than everyone on the secondary and just completely outran them to the end zone. So he's amazing. Saquon Barkley, as advertised. I mean, the guy was every bit as electric that you'd hope for. Super versatile. I was really impressed with the patience that he showed. Like it must be hard for him going from an offensive line that's been horrible to like keep these instincts that he's had throughout his entire life to, now he knows to wait for the play to develop and open and hit the hole really hard. I thought the coolest thing about the Saquon game is that, yeah, he scored 3 touchdowns, but every touchdown that he had, like, showcased a different skill set of his. So going back to last season, again, they had DeAndre Swift, who's a pretty good runner, not a bad back by any means. Before that, they had Miles Sanders, who again I think is a really solid back. Was actually Saquon Barkley's backup at Penn State, funny enough. The first touchdown, after giving it to him a couple of times, they hit him on a wheel route. Hurts throws a beautiful ball right over his shoulder, and it was not a very easy catch. Very impressive for a running back to make a catch in that spot.
Absolutely.
Right? The toe tap, like just getting both feet down in bounds is like super impressive stuff. I don't ever remember Eagle running back doing that. Maybe like Brian Westbrook.
There's not many running backs in the league that make that play, that can make that catch, get the feet in bounds. There's very little.
Right.
Like 3 or 4 max.
Right. So that was awesome. And then they took the lead on that play, right? So now it's 7-6. His second touchdown, it was like probably a 12 to 15 yard run, but again, shows really good patience, waits for the hole to open up, and then just hits a really quick inside cut, and he is gone. And nobody touched him. So the agility was on display there. And then the last touchdown was a 3rd and short, and he was stopped in the backfield, but he kept those gigantic legs and quads turning, and he bullied his way into the end zone. And they haven't had a back that can do, the first touchdown catch and the last touchdown run together in a really long time.
Well, there's only a few of them in the league, so of course.
Yeah. So now again, they've had a pretty solid running back stable over the past few years. They've had a running back by committee philosophy, but again, that makes you a little bit more predictable. So when you have this one guy on the field who does all of these things,
yes,
it makes you that much harder to defend. So he was awesome. Really, really excited to have him on the team moving forward. The unsung hero of the offense for me in this game was Devontae Smith. I mean, I just fucking love watching this guy play football. He is so... First of all, he's like 140 pounds soaking wet, but he's just surgical in the passing game. He is so precise. He just runs the crispest routes. He knows exactly where to be. And he's just really slippery, man. Like there was a couple of times where I thought that he was going down, but he's just able to slide right between a couple of defenders and pick up some really big yards. No touchdowns for him, but I thought he was like Mr. Reliable on 3rd down for them, especially on that last drive of the game where they had to ice the clock. He was really big for them on a couple of really key 3rd downs. Last positive, I'll do Jalen Hurts kind of his own category, but last thing I was super encouraged by was the offensive line. I thought they were really good. The biggest question mark was how was Cam Jurgens going to be replacing Kelsey at center? I thought he did really well, minus the couple of bad snaps, which they're going to happen. Again, this team, they haven't played together. That stuff's going to happen. The question mark was Cam Jurgens' replacement, guy named Mekhi Becton, playing right guard.
Guy named Mekhi Becton.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's up there. That might be right up there with Luke Van Ginkel of the Vikings. That's 1A, 1B. With that name. I mean, it's...
Yeah.
You can't top that.
Well, I don't get it. What are you talking about? What do you mean?
It's a unique name.
No, I was laughing because as if I don't know who Mekhi Becton is.
Do you?
Well, that
he was drafted by the Jets and has been on the Jets his whole career.
Oh, was he really?
I know. But if you're not a Jets diehard, if you're not, he was their first round pick. I know. We know that. But if you're not a Jets diehard fan, you probably don't know. But his name is great. It's a great name.
He was really good. Whatever his name is, wherever he was drafted, if you're not seeing him on the screen a lot, he's not doing anything terrible. So
correct. I agree.
I think he was very good. Last thing on the offense, the play calling was so refreshing to watch. After the debacle of last year and the predictability and just the constipated offense. Really good to see an adult play caller put together methodical plays and pre-snap motion and mix things up was just amazing to see. And the biggest question that everybody had about the Eagles and Jalen Hurts this past offseason, all we heard about for months was the blitz. They can't pick up the blitz. They can't read. It was all Jason Kelsey. Now they're essentially fucked. People are just going to blitz Jalen Hurts until he's done. And there's not going to be anything that they could do about it because he just can't read it. So against the blitz, Hurts was 7 for 8 for 92 yards and a touchdown and a passer rating of 158.3, which is a perfect passer rating. So that was the main thing that I wanted to see. You know, like I said before, if I was a Jets fan, I'd want to see Rodgers look like Rodgers. What I wanted to see from the Eagles in this game was how are they going to do handling the blitz? And they literally could not have done any better. So I was very encouraged about that. So I'm going to go to my positives on defense, and then I'll let you know about my concerns, the Jalen Hurts of it all, and then we can get off the topic. But I mentioned it before. The defense in the red zone, those first two possessions was just massive. I mean, they go down 14-0 there, and it's probably a wrap at that point. But they held them, and then a little bit later on, I don't know how close you guys were paying attention, but the next touchdown the Packers scored, they kicked an extra point. There was a penalty on the Eagles. They chose to forego taking that point, get the ball at the 1 yard line for a 2-point conversion. And they handed the ball off to Josh Jacobs, and Josh Jacobs got stonewalled by Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. And that was also huge. So like those three things, I was feeling really good about the defense. Now, the Packers got theirs. I mean, they're a really talented team, really talented offense. The receiving core is very exciting, very explosive. So they're going to get their yards, they're going to get their points. But I thought that those three things really, really held the game together for them. A couple guys I want to shout on the defense. Jalen Carter, still just an absolute menace up the middle. Really, really just gets a lot of push. Really good in pass rushing. Excellent run stuffer. Like he picked up right where he left off at the beginning of last year when he was really good. Zach Bond was kind of an afterthought of a signing for the Eagles this offseason, and the guy was the player of the game on defense. Guy was everywhere. Popped off the screen all over the field. He led the team with 15 tackles. He had 2 sacks and a tackle for loss. So guy was everywhere, just making plays. Really, really nice to see. Again, kind of an afterthought because of the Devin White thing, the Nakobe Dean aspect of things, just a name that wasn't really mentioned too much this offseason and coming out of training camp. So really good to see. Looks like he can play. Last thing, man, I think I mentioned this on the Eagles preview pod. I think I've got my new favorite Philadelphia Eagle. This kid, rookie first round pick, Quinyon Mitchell, that they drafted at corner, was fucking awesome. This dude on his first drive ever playing cornerback in the NFL, 3rd and 9, is step for step on Christian Watson in going into a back shoulder fade in the end zone. Just totally step for step, locked him up and broke the pass up. He had 2 pass breakups, just looked really good. Could have had a pick, but he dropped it. Dude was just awesome. Just really, really looked like he belonged. And for a guy in just his first game going up against that receiving core on that field, I was blown away by how good he was. He was lockstep with receivers all night long. My favorite thing about him was his attitude. He was making plays and getting up in the receivers' faces and chirping, which you guys know is my favorite kind of football player. So I thought that was great. Super encouraged overall. I would like to see a little bit more pressure and such, but we can get to that now with the concerns.
I really would like to hear your concerns because usually this is what you start with. Usually you'd start with all your concerns. So I'm like almost startled here with all the positivity.
Yeah, it's a new me. New season, new me.
Here's what I actually think. Here's the thing. We're recording this on Tuesday, September 10th. they played on Friday. So I think over those, 5 days, a lot of the negativity that you may have had during the game has gone away, but the positive stuff has remained. It's on the forefront of your mind.
That's actually not true. You may think I'm lying, and that's okay. But I felt this way. Listen, that's at the end of the day, the overarching theme for me was, yes, the win is great, but it's a really good team that they played. This is a team that a lot of people picked to be the 1 seed to go to the Super Bowl, and they played step for step with them. And I think the defense did a really good job. Hurts outplayed Love, and what more can you ask for? But the concerns, and I really think that the positives far outweigh the negatives, but there was definitely some concerning aspects of the game. So the really on the offense, the only thing was Jalen Hurts and the turnovers. I would like to think that he gets that stuff cleaned up. The interceptions were really, really bad. First one, I give him a little bit of credit I don't knock him as much for the first one, because I think it was McKinney who just looked like he made a really good read, kind of baited him into making the throw. Probably shouldn't have thrown the ball, but I'm not going to kill him for it. It was the first drive of the year. And a great player made a great play. That sucked. His second turnover was brutal. It was at a point, it's late, it's the fourth quarter now, you're up 5. It's
Is
third.
This is the one where he's on the run?
Yeah, this is the one where they're in the end zone. He's on the run. He's
red zone.
He throws across his body into. It's just a really bad throw, bad decision. You just gotta take the sack there. You gotta just throw it out of the end zone. Those points were huge. That would have put them up 8 at the time, and instead, they went back and forth with Green Bay after that. So those are really concerning. The fumbles, obviously not happy about them, but I think it's just knocking off a little bit of rust. The first fumble on the second drive of the game, I think Cam Jurgens was the only one who thought that the play was getting snapped at that count, because nobody else moved. Jurgens snapped the ball. Hurts had no idea it was coming, and it looked like no one else moved. So that was probably just completely on Jurgens. And then the second fumble towards the end of the game, they ended up recovering it, but still, if they scored a touchdown there, it would have put the game away for good. But that just looked like a bad snap. Looks like they were going in for a tush push. Bad snap by Jurgens. Barkley falls on it. They kick a field goal. So then the last drive meant something. So a little concerning. Again, don't want to read too much into it, because no preseason, new offense, new offensive line. So I'm hopeful that it gets cleaned up, but the crazy thing about Hurts is that his first 2 years of being the starting quarterback, if there was one thing this dude did, it was protect the football. This guy never put the ball in harm's way. And over the last year and last night, you just can't say that about him. He's thrown way more picks. He's putting the ball in harm's way a lot more. He's fumbling a lot more. So, again, hopefully it's just week 1 jitters, getting used to each other, but that's definitely on the radar as far as red flags go. So that's really it with the offense. Other than that, I have no complaints. The big concern about the defense, and I'm going to give them a little bit of grace too, was the edge rushers. So they were not getting any pressure from the edge on Jordan Love. Now, personally, think that was because of the field. I think that the people who get affected by a really slippery field the most are going to be your edge rushers, because they're getting so low and they're trying to explode and use all this leverage, and that's really hard to do when the field is slippery. Again, that's why, going back to the Super Bowl, the Eagles broke the sack record that year, because they were so good on the edge, and they didn't even sniff Patrick Mahomes. They were all over the field the entire game. Looked like a little bit of a similar feel there. But yeah, no sacks from any edge rushers. Bryce Huff was invisible the entire game. It looked like he didn't even play. This is probably the most concerning thing. Again, I'm going to wait to see how it looks at home, but yeah, he had out of all their edge rushers, he had the least amount of snaps. Now, their edge rushers are Josh Sweat, who's a pretty good player, Brandon Graham, who it's his 15th year in the league, and this is his last season. And the other one is Nolan Smith, who has been a very disappointing first-round pick for them that they picked up it was last year, was his rookie year.
I have to stop you for a
saw the
second,
field
though.
last year, did not.
I have to stop you because what was the expectation from the Eagles media, the Eagles fan base, that in terms of Bryce Huff's snap count? Was he expected to be like a every down player? Because he was only a pass rush specialist with the Jets. He played like 20% of snaps. That's who he's been his whole career.
Yeah, I think maybe a little unfairly to him, the expectation is that he's going to be Hassan Reddick because they essentially let him go for Huff. Serious.
I mean,
they paid him a lot of money, and they want to see him do well. But listen, even without the snaps, okay, take the snaps out of it, he was totally invisible.
Yes,
Completely invisible.
In as a pass rush specialist, like per snap or per rush, he's an elite pass rusher. So that's the expectation. The reasonable expectation is that when he's on the field, he's wreaking havoc and getting to the quarterback and putting pressure on the quarterback. That I think is the realistic expectation. Not that he's Hassan Reddick playing 80% of snaps, stopping the run, doing everything.
Fair enough. And again, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. Super happy to get out of Brazil with the win. Everyone's relatively healthy, and another positive thing is that there's reinforcements coming because their starting corner, Isaiah Rodgers, we didn't talk about him. He was on the Colts 2 years ago. He was suspended for all of last year, and he is now back as the starting outside corner for the Eagles. Who knows if Quinyon Mitchell essentially took his job with how well he played this week, but one of the other things that was a little concerning was the nickel corner spots. They get Isaiah Rodgers back. They can either put him in the nickel. They can move Quinyon Mitchell to the nickel spot. But again, overall, they got out of Brazil with a win against a really good team who's in conference, and they're relatively healthy. Scale of 1 to 10, 8.
So the Eagles, 34-29, they now have the Falcons coming up on Monday night. So another primetime game, another game that Sistad has to stay up late for. So I guess with the Falcons, you got a team that didn't look great in their season opener, but again, new quarterback, a lot of young players, Drake London, Bijan Robinson. Not the easiest game, but also a game that, as an Eagles fan, I'm sure you expect to win.
Yeah, definitely super winnable. We all know Kirk Cousins is not a winner in prime time, so that that gives me some hope there.
Oh, God.
I think that's obviously a ridiculous thing to say, but no, I'm never really impressed with Atlanta. I don't think Drake London's very good. I think Kirk Cousins is pretty good. I didn't watch the Falcons game, but I hear that he did not look right. Say again?
Yeah. This is your thing. You don't believe anyone's good until you see them produce. If you don't see it, they can't be good. Of course you don't believe Drake London is good because you haven't seen him be good.
He stinks. I think that I think Robinson
really good.
I think Robinson's really good, but I think the Eagles their run defense is going to be really good with Carter and Davis in the middle. So and from what I didn't watch the game, but Kirk Cousins apparently didn't look very right physically. It's his first game back.
I only saw a little bit on Red Zone, so I don't know.
So we'll see. The Eagles are I think they're 5.5, or maybe I think it moved up to 6.5 point favorites. So it's at home. The crowd's going to be ready to go. I would say I'm pretty optimistic about the Falcons game.
Before we move on to the Giants, I just want to say one thing. I'm forecasting this about 9:30 on Monday night. So roughly an hour into game in like real time. I'm going to get a text from Sistad about saying, I can't believe the Eagles are letting this loser Drake London beat them. He sucks. This is pathetic. A disaster. The season's over.
If he does that, you know the season will be over real quick.
How could you not, right?
I'm rooting for him now. I also have him in my fantasy team.
Yeah,
I have him in my fantasy team now also.
I'm
so
your
that
friend,
was that.
dude. Don't you want your friend to be happy?
When you say he sucks without knowing, I want you to be proven incorrect. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So, as your friend, though, I'm going to bring up something that should make you happy and make you laugh.
Wow.
The New York Giants.
Hey. That's the New York Football Giants to you.
The New York Football Giants and their great quarterback, Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
That was so bad.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was watching the game. I was watching Red Zone on the screen. I had two laptops going. I had baseball on one and I had the Giants on the other. And every time I look over or every time they showed up on Red Zone, it was like some ridiculous turnover. Daniel Jones was turning it over. It was so bad. And I was looking at are you guys familiar with CPOE?
No.
It's a advanced metric for quarterbacks, completion percentage over expected. Basically, it takes into account the distance of the throw, whether the quarterback's being rushed or hurried or hit, how close or how far the closest defender is to the receiver, and spits out a expected completion percentage. And so over the course of a game, the percentage like, compared to the expected, it tracks every game for every quarterback. And in week 1, Daniel Jones was 28th. And that's actually his worst CPOE game of his career. He has been league average to below league average quarterback for a while now, his whole career. He wasn't this bad. I mean, that was just that was Zach Wilson-esque. That was horrible.
They couldn't do anything right.
That was so bad.
Yeah, so I watched most of that game. Again, I had the kids outside. I had it on in my TV outside, and I was playing with them and watching the game. And yeah, it was really bad. It just put the biggest smile on my face. It was so heartwarming to sit there and watch them in those stupid uniforms just look like that. There's some egg on my face with the game because, during our preview episode, I thought that the Giants defense was going to be good enough to keep them in some games.
It could still be. It was one game. It could still be.
But not a very encouraging start. I mean, they got lit up by Darnold. By the way, I just want to shout out Aaron Jones. Like, are we sure that the Packers got better at running back when they let go of Jones and brought in Josh Jacobs? Aaron Jones looked every bit as electric as I've ever seen him. So, but yeah, I mean, they couldn't stop the Vikings. Couldn't stop Darnold. And I know that they only put up 21 points because there was a pick six in there. But towards the end of the game, like, the Vikings were essentially just running out the clock. So if they needed to score more, they probably could have.
Yeah.
But I mean, they were really bad. And the juxtaposition of that slop next to Saquon Barkley scoring 3 touchdowns and having 150 yards rushing is just, it's just the best. It's just
doesn't get any better for you.
It really doesn't. And what I want to say, because dude, this is very rare for a New York sports fan. Like, they're so bad that even their fans who are really dumb, like, know they're bad, which never happens.
That's not rare. That's not rare at all. I don't know what you're talking about. That's not rare.
With the big four, it's super rare. So
no, it's not.
I just want to say to every Giants fan who has ever, like, tried to win an argument by saying how many Super Bowls you got, which, believe me, they say that a lot. I want to say you fucking deserve every second of this. And this is great because you deserve it when, after you made the playoffs in 2022 and you drafted Jalen Hyatt and you brought in Darren Waller and you thought you were going to win the division, like, you deserve this team sucking this bad. And it's fantastic. And the other thing, hold on real quick.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to say is, we might have touched on this in another episode, but like the Daniel Jones of it all, he's so bad. And like, after 2022, when they paid him, I did not hear one Giants fan say, wow, this is a fucking disaster. They all
I heard a lot of Giants fans say that. So
they all either said, okay, That's anecdotal. I can tell you from my experience. So listen, here's the thing. You live in
yours isn't anecdotal.
No, you live in North Jersey, where like you're actually close to New York, and the fans up by you are probably not bandwagon fans because that's their home team. Most of the Giants fans down here are bandwagon fans and stupid. So here's the thing. Listen, everyone that I talk to, let's say the vast majority, they said, "Hey, he's a good quarterback. He had a really good year. Like it's not that bad. Like they're only locked into him for 2 years. They could do whatever else. Like so there's that. And he is horrible. Like none of that is true. But the other thing that they would always say,
no, the contract is after this season they can get out of the contract. They just cut him with no.
Okay, so
no
just
cap
waste.
hit.
So just waste these next 2 years then. Cool. But the other thing that they would say, to me is, well, what else are they supposed to do? Like, what else are they supposed to do? Like, they got a quarterback. He had a good year. Like, you kind of have to pay him now, right? And it's like, what else are they supposed to do? Literally sign any other quarterback in the NFL. Sign fucking Marcus Mariota or Sam Darnold or Baker Mayfield. Like, anybody you should have signed to a lesser contract than Daniel Jones. You can never justify the Daniel Jones $45 million. He has the second highest cap hit in the NFL this year. He was never good. And to the people who say he was good in 2022, what about the 3 years before that? Like, this is his 6th year in the league. He's had a decent year once, and you wanted to pay him all that money, and you were good with it. So I don't feel bad for you. Your team will be good at some point again, but this is what you get when you make organizational decisions based on winning. Like, yeah, you won. You were 6-1 in 2022, and since that point, they're 9-18-1.
That statement was, I don't even want to get into it. It was so ridiculous. You shouldn't. So you're saying you shouldn't make organizational decisions as a sports franchise based on winning?
I don't think you shouldn't make
what
decisions based on teams when all of the signs were there and you were still winning. No, you should not have doubled down on Daniel Jones.
I see what you're saying. Okay, you shouldn't make decisions because you were fortunate to have a successful season, but all the underlining metrics and data suggest that it wasn't real and this isn't a good decision going forward. That I agree with. Yes. That I agree with. Yes. Okay. So week 2, they're in Washington against the Commanders. Winnable game, right?
I think so. Yeah, I didn't watch their game, but they apparently were really bad on Sunday. Yeah, I mean, certainly a winnable game from the Giants' standpoint. And they usually play Washington pretty well over the past few years, so I wouldn't be surprised
they have.
If they won that one.
They have. They've gotten a bunch of wins against them out of their 4 or 5 wins, like 6 wins they get a year.
Yeah, they seem to have their number for sure.
All right, so that was a funny game to watch, and I do watch I can't help but watching the Giants play horribly and think of you. So
thank you.
You're welcome. I think that you should take it easy with your celebration about the Giants being horrible and everything, because it's one game. They played a horrible game, and because they were bad last year, it seems like this verifies it that they're horrible. I don't think they're good. I've been saying that, but my expectation of them hasn't changed based on their week 1 performance. I thought they were bad coming into the year. I still think they're bad. I don't think they're worse than I thought they were going to be. I think they played worse than they probably will mostly. I mean, that was a really bad game, but they get the Commanders next week, so we'll see if they can turn things around. I think all 3 teams have a very winnable game. The Jets and the Eagles should win their games. The Giants, I would say, more could win their games. Maybe we might have a sweep, even though you don't view it as a sweep. You want a sweep for you would be Eagles, Jets win, Giants lose.
That's right. Yeah.
So turning our attention to baseball, we've talked about the Yankees. We've talked about the Phillies on this podcast. We have been ignoring the New York Mets, and there was a reason. When we first started this podcast, the Mets seemed out of it. That has changed. In the open, I mentioned how I brought up the question of, are we going to have 3 baseball teams in the postseason? By 3 teams, the 3 teams we cover on this pod: the Philadelphia Phillies, the New York Yankees, and the New York Mets. The Yankees winning in first place in the AL East in a battle. The Phillies have, as we said in episode 2, already won the division. And the New York Mets, not only are they making a wild card push, they are currently in the 3rd wild card spot, up by a game. And somehow, some way, they've won 10 out of 11 games. They're red hot. They are a game out of the 2nd wild card spot and a game and a half out of the 1st wild card spot. The Mets game up on the Braves, who are a game out of the 3rd wild card spot. The Mets have the Mets season record is tied with the Braves. The tiebreaker goes to whoever has the better record versus each other. They play 2 games. They have a 2-game series on September 24th and 25th. That could very well decide a playoff spot and that tiebreaker. And they own the tiebreaker on the 2 teams ahead of them, the Diamondbacks and the Padres, in the 2nd and 1st wildcard spots, respectively. So the Mets are in a really good position right now, as we look like we might have all 3 teams in the postseason.
I mean, they really have. They were able to take care of the White Sox last week. It's always nice when you can squeeze them into the schedule here for some easy layup wins. Pitching, I mean, I think pitching really has been the reason why they've put themselves in a position here to get a playoff berth in the next couple of weeks. I mean, that's been the kryptonite of them, and a lot of teams for that matter, that's held them back. But it's really stepped up here recently, and it's been, I would say, a pleasant surprise for Mets fans. I mean, if you were to tell Mets fans on opening day that,
for sure,
coming up on mid-September, you're in the playoffs as of today, they'll sign up for that every day of the week. So, yeah, credit them.
To your point, especially after their first month of the season where they were bad, really bad, even through most of May, early June, it looked like this team was going to have no shot at making a postseason run. And here they are. Now, ideally, you'd like to get in that top 2 wildcard spot for those for the 2 out of 3 playing tournament, right? But so you don't have to play the other division winner. And you said it's about the pitching. The pitching is Sean Manaea. There's Jose Quintana's been pretty good. David Peterson's been very good, but Francisco Lindor. So for most of this season, it looked like Shohei Ohtani was running away with the NL MVP, and I don't know anymore. Lindor is having some type of season. He is very much in that conversation, and the production he's provided after also a really bad start, just like the team. Lindor was being crushed, and he's having an incredible season. He's leading the National League in WAR. Well, F-WAR, not Baseball References WAR. And the Mets are making a run. They have some games coming up. They have a series against Toronto.
Monster series.
Then they have the Phillies in Philadelphia, 3 against them. Then they have they're home against for 3 against the Nats, 3 winnable games, very winnable games. 4 at home against the Phillies, and then that Braves series I was talking about in Atlanta. Those 2 games that are very likely going to decide a playoff spot. And then they finish with 3 games at Milwaukee. So the Mets are in a really good position. It will be really fun if we have all 3 teams playing playoff baseball.
Yeah, and you know what I say to that? Let's go Mets. I fucking hate the Braves. I want no part of them in a 3-game playoff series. I know, call me crazy, but I want no part of like a Max Fried, Charlie Morton, Chris Sale starting 3, and I'm still, and what's the kid's name? Schwellenbach is really good. Yeah, I don't want, I know they're injured, and you guys think I'm just being a superstitious dork, but I want really no part of.
I think in your mind, the Braves have what they've been in recent history, and really for a long time now, makes you feel like you don't want to play them, but. It's also not just the Mets or the Braves. Like I was just saying, the D-backs and Padres are ahead of them. And
the Braves have been to
the Mets and Braves could easily
Sistad's
both
point. I think not only based on the history of the Braves with what you're saying, Andrew, but they've been very streaky at points this season and hard to figure out.
Yeah.
I'd
rather face the Mets too, by the way.
I thought they were dead, a month ago. I thought Braves, they were completely dead.
I look at the Braves.
And, they were able to.
Well,
Yeah, I know.
yeah.
I after the Austin
division.
Riley injury, though, I think a lot of people thought that this team was going to go by the wayside, but they were able to string some impressive games together. I go back to the game up in Minnesota about a week or two ago. They blew out the Twins, and they really rocked Bailey Ober, who had pitched well for them. Yeah. So they've been able to
Matt
find
Olson had
these
2 home
wins
runs that game, I
here,
think.
despite a lot of injuries they battled through. Again, you never know. You get into a short series. To Sistad's point, you got to be concerned with the guys they can throw out there in the rotation.
Well, I think in a short series, I would want to stay away from Chris Sale, who's on his way to the NL Cy Young, running away with it. So I would want to stay away from him.
Their bullpen is full of just guys who are locked down, and that tandem of Ozuna Olsen at 2-3 is terrifying.
But still,
Olsen's not having that good of a season, though.
He could string it together if needed.
He's still got all the tools. Yeah, he's still good enough hitter. Got a lot of power.
I agree.
Lefty. I want no part of that. Good for the Mets.
Lindor and Pete.
I would be as well.
Not scared.
I mean,
not so
Jesse
much.
Winker.
Not so much. Lindor, yes. Alonso, he'll strike out.
Yeah, but he's very similar. They're like the same. He's like the same type of hitter, except a righty.
Big power guys
Olsen.
can be
big power guys.
Prime time performer
strike out a
if
lot.
need be.
Don't run well.
I hear you, Andrew. I hear what you're saying.
First baseman.
This is going to be fun, though. I mean, again, to your point, if we can get the Mets into the playoffs, in addition to the Phillies and the Yankees, I mean, that'd be a lot of fun for the tri-state area, come October here. So it's getting exciting.
I do want to share some. It is very exciting. I do want to share some somewhat breaking news from about an hour ago. Well, now we're recording this on Tuesday, the September 10th. It's about 8:30. So Kyle Schwarber has set the single season record for leadoff home runs.
Guy doesn't get enough credit.
Wow.
That's his.
How about that?
He is.
He's having an awesome season.
Yeah, he has pretty much single-handedly carried them on his back for like the last 3 weeks when they really needed it. They've been down bad with some injuries and faltering to an extent. I mean, the division or playoff spot was never really in jeopardy, but it got down to 4 or 5 games at one point, and he's been electric.
Been awesome.
Couple of 3 home run games about a week or so
14th,
ago.
you said, right? 14th leadoff homer,
Works.
right?
This is what he does. He gets on these.
14th. Yeah. It is. I took a note.
Was it his 14th?
Yeah.
I just saw it was a single season record.
Super
14th.
impressive.
Yeah.
Again, one of those.
It's something that speaks to the era and the time that we're in, because most of baseball history, there's no way Kyle Schwarber's leading off.
Right.
So to be fair, it's more of like a 10-year record than it is a baseball history record.
Yeah.
But anyway, still very impressive. I'm not taking anything away from him. Just the record itself. Just want to give some clarification too. So last week, Sistad had a jump off, right? So we about halfway through. So we weren't able to do the fan favorite, the subscriber favorite segment, Let's Mock New York Fans on Twitter. We've had the Yankees playing. We've had the Yankees a little up and down. Clay Holmes is no longer the closer, by the way. Jason Dominguez wasn't coming up. Now he's up. We've had the Mets run, assuming they've been playing too well to make this list. We've had the Giants debacle week 1. We had the Jets lose week 1. A lot of New York sports now, a lot of New York sports fans that are angry and upset to choose from. So Sistad, take it away. Let's hear the tweets of the week.
Yeah, so happy to be back. One thing I want to encourage you guys and the audience to do is take out your phone and go to Twitter, because half of the fun of these tweets are looking at these people's profile picture. Like, I'm telling you, you won't be disappointed. So get your phone out.
Show us on the screen.
Okay, I could do that. So I went, you guys know a passion of mine is hating the Giants. So just in honor of week 1, I did go very heavy on the Giants side of things.
The G-men.
The G-boys. The G-men.
The G-boys.
It's great.
The G-men. All right. So I have three of them. Let's go.
All right, go bronze
God,
first.
there's so many to choose from. God. All right. So the bronze one is gonna go to Giants Blue Blooded is his name. His handle is at real TLKFB. So at real talk
same.
football, I guess is
I
what
found
this
him.
guy's trying. Okay.
I found him.
So he says he was not happy with the performance on Sunday. This guy loves the G-Men. His profile picture is a picture of him with the Giants end zone in the background. Like he's all geared out.
He's got the money for the good seats.
He's at MetLife. He's smiling
Presumably.
real big. So this must have been in 2022 when they won a game.
I thought you were going to say like 2007.
Right. Well, who knows? So he says this. So apparently, I don't know if you guys saw, but it's the Giants' 100th year anniversary. So they had like a lot of big celebrations and stuff pregame. A lot of old players. John Mara and the org have this huge multi-day event for 100 seasons for the Giants. Week 1 at home with the best players in team history in attendance. They get blown out, booed off the field at halftime, and the fans are outside the locker room shitting on the starting quarterback to his face. It's just so embarrassing.
Wait.
So I don't know if you guys saw, but after the game, Daniel Jones walked out of the tunnel, and there was a bunch of New York Giants fans there, and they were just like booing him like 10 feet away as he was walking like to his car. They were booing and cursing at him and telling him how bad he sucks. It was fantastic.
That really bothers me so much that people do that. It really bothers me. How could you treat another person like that because he didn't perform to the way you want him to perform?
I know.
Oh,
and it's one thing, to that point, it's one thing I am always in favor of booing on the field, but like, don't hunt the guy down and.
Now you're getting very personal.
Yeah.
I can somewhat excuse booing like while you're at the game in the seats, whatever. I mean, I'm against it, but whatever. People do it, but like while he's going to his car, I mean, come on.
Yeah, it was bad. So the next. The silver medalist comes from, so if you guys don't follow Antonio Brown on Twitter, he is the best follow on Twitter.
We're talking the real, like, Antonio Brown, former NFL receiver, walked off the field at MetLife. Yes. Yeah, that whole thing. Okay.
Antonio Brown is absolutely batshit crazy on Twitter. Like exactly what you would expect to a guy who, took his shirt off and ran off the field during a game. He's insane. He will tweet anything and everything. He will curse at current players, former players. He will call people slurs.
Right.
Like
Let's get to the tweet. Let's see this tweet. Let's hear the tweet.
So the tweet is it is a picture of a 4-piece McNugget Happy Meal next to Daniel Jones's face. And under the 4-piece McNugget Happy Meal, it says $5.39. Can't throw touchdowns. Can't read a defense. Makes people happy. And then under Daniel Jones's face, it says $160 million. Can't throw touchdowns. Can't read a defense. Makes people sad.
Yeah.
That is wow. That's
dude, that is the most like.
Oh my god.
That's the most PG tweet that you will
gold
find
mine
on Antonio Brown's Twitter.
Priceless tweets.
I'm telling you.
That is very unique it's very unique for a former athlete to go after current athletes, unless they're like, on ESPN or doing, on one of those shows where it's like, that's the whole point is you just say ridiculous, you just say, oh, this guy can't play.
And they don't even do that as much anymore, to be honest. You know what I mean?
Dude,
like
I'm telling you.
On TV. It's pretty kosher, if anything.
Now they're pretty respectful of, I mean, they'll be critical, but they're not gonna,
it's the guys
they're not gonna like just tell
on Twitter,
aka
X, or social media that, like the Antonio Browns, that they'll just, they'll rip.
Well, that's where you get people in general just saying whatever they want on social media. That's It's consistent with that because, in real life, no one can see me.
Right. All right. So the number one New York tweet of the week comes to us from our friend. His name is Joey. and his tag, his handle on Twitter is at DJ Le MVP. So it's like DJ LeMahieu, but instead of Mayhew, it's MVP. So it's
My
at
God.
DJLEVP. And like,
Oh boy.
look at this guy's profile picture. First and foremost, it is unbelievable. So it looks like he's at, for those not following on Twitter, it looks like he's at Fenway Park and he's taking a selfie of himself. Pinstripe jersey on, hat on backwards, like full. I don't even know how you describe this face. It's just like full amped, like, oh my God, like I'm fucking Joey. I'm at the Yankees game. Like, just, yes.
That's so great.
That's
There
it
you
right
go.
there.
That's it, right? All right. That's what we're talking about. All right.
That is Joey. So his tweet, he goes cross sports. Okay.
Okay.
So his tweet, he won the week by saying the following. I gotta try and say it without laughing. Daniel Jones played so bad yesterday that Brian Cashman reached out to see if Daniel was interested in joining the Yankees bullpen.
On fire.
Oh,
And then to top it off, he photoshopped a photo of Daniel Jones.
That's
in pinstripes.
That's good.
Not a bad
He
look.
looks a Yankee there. He looks like a Yankee. I gotta
He
give him credit.
does. He does. Well, that's
Man.
before the beard. Yeah. So this guy's so mad that the Yankees are only a game and a half up.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah,
they
that's
need to
definitely the
bring
answer.
Daniel Jones in to save the bullpen. Great stuff. Great stuff.
Those are good. This is going to get better and better.
You think?
The Giants most likely having a bad season, and the potential for the Jets to either fans to be really excited, which is, it's like when the Knicks are finally good. Now Knicks fans getting excited. Most other fans find it very annoying because Knicks fans are just way over the top because they haven't been excited for so long. The team's been so bad for so long. So that's what's going to happen if the Jets are actually good this year. So there'll be good stuff there. And just wait for the postseason, or if the Yankees blow the AL East and
God forbid
they get swept by the Orioles coming up, there's going to be a lot of fun there.
Yeah,
there's going to be a lot of good tweets there.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, there was definitely a lot more to sift through, and I'm telling you, there was so many that I
great
I
selection.
could have said, but you gotta make cuts somewhere.
Yeah, we can't do. Maybe we'll do a special episode of these. Just do 30 of them.
Maybe we'll do the winners of the year coming up, top 10.
Oh, I like that one. Back to the NFL. A general NFL look around. We wanted to touch base on some stuff. Week 1, not a lot of crazy stuff happened. We had a couple injuries. Love, Puka Nacua are the two big ones, and some notable games. Right, you guys add if I'm missing something, but Cowboys beating the Browns, Pats with a big upset. Congratulations, Brad Dalius.
Just celebrating.
I don't believe the Pats at all.
But
we'll see. Yeah, you should. That's good.
You can't relate over there.
Exactly. I'm just going to say for this one. But you mentioned games. I thoroughly enjoyed the Sunday night game. Very entertaining. Rams at the Lions. Overtime. Just Stafford slinging it all over the place to Cooper Kupp. Goff making some great passes as well. Some big defensive plays for the Lions. That was a fun one. Yeah. It was. Season opener was great.
The Ravens Chiefs was good.
The
season opener.
The toenail game, whatever you want to call it. Inches. I mean, that was you couldn't ask for a better game for opening night. I think the Ravens.
The NFL did a good job with these opening weekend primetime games.
The rest were good.
The Jets game wasn't very good, entertaining, but the rest of them were
first week
very good games.
Yeah.
Just the impressive stuff was, again, you mentioned Dallas. I thought was a big day for them, signing the record-breaking contract. Then they go out on the field and they just light up the Browns, who I'm concerned about, at least from the quarterback position with Watson. But he's probably done. Give the Cowboys credit, though, for neutralizing Myles Garrett, because you're not going to see that every week. You're not going to see him being contained like that. So that was really impressive. Outside of that,
yeah, I agree.
I thought Baker Mayfield and Tampa took care of business at home against the Commanders, who I think are going to be a little better this year. And what else was impressive? Oh, Derek Carr with the Saints. Big day for them. They look real good. And Carolina looked, can we even say worse than last year? Wow, that was alarming.
Bryce Young looked so bad.
Really alarming. But that's what stood out.
I agree. All right, so week 2, you have the Jets are in Tennessee, the Giants are in Washington, and the Eagles home against the Falcons on Monday night. Thanks for listening to episode 5. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
Philly pride and Sistad soul, and you reppin' NY Bulls. Together they talk sports and dreams, right behind the scenes. It seems Philly versus NY, hear the call. Who's the greatest? Who will fall with this rivalry? Loud and clear, join the chat. It's time to cheer. Sports and culture all in one. Catch the fire, feel the fun. Andrew, Sistad, Brad unite. Philly and